How you doing, pal?
Do you know the Muffin Man?
Oh,
so. I'm so nervous.
Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
My mom has to pick me up at 9.
Your mom left you, much like this film.
Can I get a hi? Hiya!
That guy's got cancer doing it too. There you go.
Waka waka waka. There you go.
Go on. You'll be Owen Wilson in this film. You understand me? Spoilers!
Guys, this is on national TV.
Your mama's on national TV.
We're good.
with gravy, man.
We're on the gravy train, baby.
This one's at Whopper, Junior Whopper.
Do the dance. Do it.
I'm not a monkey. You could just
Be funny. 1, 2, 3, funny.
You didn't even say it backwards. 3, 2, 1, funny. It's a new place. Welcome back to
You
the
doing some
WatchTower
interpretive
podcast.
dance?
I'm doing something. Look at it, man.
This is what you do.
It reminds me of Entourage when that guy cut his hair.
You on coke? Welcome back to the WatchTower podcast, the film review podcast of the Towercast Network. This is a very special episode. We're somewhere new today. Why might that be?
I know. What a quirky thing.
You know what I think is hilarious? I think that people tuning in, that tuned into our comeback episode, the Before Trilogy episode, they're like, didn't they just do this already? Didn't they do this already? Weren't they in the new studio already?
We're still in that new studio. We just flipped the camera.
Here's a good little trivia question. How many episodes did we do in that studio?
Oh, that's interesting. Good trivia.
Not even we know.
I genuinely don't.
Yeah. Like 6?
Yeah, welcome back. We're in our new Tower offices / Towercast Network studio. We're in the new spot. We're very grateful to everybody who helped us kind of accomplish this. It's a big deal to us. Yep. I can't say much about it other than we're really happy where we're at. It's a much bigger space. We're
Can
surrounded.
I give a fun fact?
Yeah, we're surrounded by a lot of amazing people. That's all I'll say. And it's going to be a very special year for Tower, I think, just moving forward. What's your fun fact?
They're never fun without that.
This is Michael DeLo's fun fact quotation marks.
So, I know we knew this, but a lot of people didn't. I've gotten at least one question from my mom asking what's behind the curtain. It was a window the whole time.
Oh.
Wow.
No, it's not true.
We could have totally played that angle.
Yeah.
No,
we peeled back the curtain and we pushed the cameras further back. It got repoed. Oh, and that shelf we had?
Gone.
Burned in a fire. It's a whole thing.
All for insurance money.
All for insurance.
That's it.
That's how we got here.
You can see that on camera.
I was just going to throw a mug.
You know what's funny? Also, Austin's on camera, and he got a new background too.
Say hi to your camera, buddy.
Yeah. Okay.
Say hi to your fans.
Okay, fine. Austin did get a camera with all of our Towercast shows up there, which is great. I don't know. I really like that.
A fun fact, a true fun fact, in fact, and I don't know how much of this Austin will let me say, but we're actually going to be potentially adding a couple more shows to the network this year. We're in talks of talking to a couple more shows that one of them actually has nothing to do with the film, which is going to be really interesting. So
yeah.
we're talking about it.
It's so weird. It's about sand, like
bags of sand,
bags of
soft
sand.
But yeah, well, we'll talk a little more. But it's gonna be a really great year for the Towercast Network and for Tower Productions because we're in development for a lot of great projects and we're in a brand new space. It's just gonna open up a lot of opportunities that we're really excited about. So thank you guys and keep tuning in because it's gonna be a very cool year. But we're not here to talk about any of that. We're here to talk about an interesting film, very interesting film, Mr. Michael DeLao's pick. And by the way, as per usual, I'm joined by Mr. Michael DeLao, Mr. John Eric Castro, and Mr. Austin Young, making sure we're sounding good out there.
We just got excited. We skipped that part.
We skipped that part. We're here to talk about cinema. And a lot of people highly, Wes Anderson is a very interesting guy. A lot of people highly regard him as this new pushing artistic force of cinema. And I'll be honest, a lot of people don't fucking get him. And I think that's it's interesting perspective, right? In cinema, like a lot of people just don't get him, and he's heavily influenced by a lot of foreign cinema and a lot of classic cinema and a lot of experimental cinema. So
his lists are insane. Like I know that
impresses me
when what is it called? The French Dispatch came out. He posted a list of like 106 films or something like that he referenced in this film, and it was.
I love that.
Not just that.
When I first heard of that, I was looking. I was like, no way that he could make it. That it references so many different things. But then if you look at the French Dispatch, because it's an anthology, it can play in so many different areas.
Which is his newest picture, by the way. He has another film coming out in 2023.
He has two films coming out.
Two films. You're right. Two films coming out in 2023.
For the French Dispatch, did you know that beforehand or after you watched the film?
It was funny. So we went on my birthday, and I was with Carlos, and I remember seeing the trailer and a bunch of different actors, and I had a feeling that Wes has already tried long-form narrative, and he's kind of got it like... With what is it called? The Grand Budapest. He had done wonders in that film in a single story, implementing so many artistic stylings. And then right after that, he did Isle of Dogs, which I mean is like the epitome of, I'd say, his animation kind of like trajectory right now.
Huge undertaking.
And then I felt like, where else does he have to go? Where else is he going to experiment and play with different styles? And I had a feeling. I told him, I was like, I really think this is going to be Wes's first anthology. And the second we went in, it was exactly that. And it was
not just that, but it was like, I always think it's funny when directors become self-aware. Tarantino became self-aware a long time ago, for instance.
What do you mean though?
Like when the director becomes self-aware of what people think of him or people appreciate about his style, like about their callbacks or about their like stylistic
Well, he gets pissed off when he's like, "Oh, why was it so boring?" Because
it's so much fun, Jan. I love that interview.
I love it.
It's so great. But no, Tarantino, I point him out because he, for instance, the feet, right?
Oh yeah.
He puts it in his films now, and he's very well aware that people make him the feet guy, right? Wes Anderson has his director kind of callbacks that I think he became self-aware of, and then the French Dispatch, it's like the quintessential Wes. Yeah, it's like, let's pour everything that makes Wes and just like throw it into one film. And you would think it's cheesy or it's like on the nose. It really isn't. It's super artsy, super great.
What would that be for Wes Anderson? What's
his style?
Yeah.
So
a few things.
Here's something great I heard. I was listening to an interview, and I know we haven't even got into like what film we're reviewing,
which is fine because setting up the director. Setting up the director.
No, but with Wes, he had an interview, and they said that, you know, like, what do you think of all these people who are coming out and copying the Wes Anderson style and going and making short films, or they do commercials and it's Wes Anderson-esque, and he says, I really don't know how to feel because I don't think I have a style. And a lot of people are like, oh, okay, that's just him being cheeky and all that. He says, no, but like, I find things that I like, certain properties, and let's say like the visuals, the color palette, the dialogue, the storytelling. And what he does, that each film he creates, he believes he's genuinely trying something different. He's progressing his own type of style, and it's this never-ending flow of things. So even though there's very similar patterns in a lot of his movies, like these perfectly symmetrical compositions, or like this like
dead space, or what do you call that when it's like one character's on one screen, they're just like nothing over here?
Oh, like negative space.
Negative space.
Yeah. He has a lot of those. He has really fun kind of tracking shots. Like he likes to make things move in a very like linear fashion, either straightforward or vertical,
or
horizontal,
or both. Right? Like he'll do a tracking shot horizontally, and then he'll go up vertically,
like we saw in this one.
Yeah, with the set that they had.
I noticed that a lot in Darjeeling because of the train carts, naturally. But he doesn't in every picture. Another thing that I didn't realize until I was reading up on the film, that a big callback to Wes is he changes the speed of the scene mid-scene, or the speed of the sequence mid-sequence.
I saw it once.
So he did a few times. Yeah, he did a few times, beginning and then and a couple times. But basically, a character will be running at normal speed, and then it'll go into slow-mo.
Okay. Yeah.
For a certain juncture of it, especially in the end. But I'll say this last thing about Wes before we get into the actual film. which I think is interesting, that kind of describes him. He's getting a lot of heat this year because obviously the French Dispatch was great. It didn't get the Oscar love we thought it deserved, and you always say that Wes never does. I mean, genuinely, he doesn't get the love
I was
he
not
deserves.
expecting it because also I think the Oscars deals with a lot of films that do something different, and kind of like similarly where the previous year, what is it called? Nightmare Alley didn't go up for an Oscar, didn't get any love, and I thought it's because Shape of Water came out previously. From Del Toro, and it looks so similar, but and not in a bad way, but it had a similar aesthetic where then
it's Del Toro's aesthetic.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think people could say, okay, that did enough different to be worthy of that. And the same with Wes. He's very similar in his films. So
has Wes never been, acknowledged by the Academy?
He's gotten a couple of nods, but nothing.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he's one. I could be wrong though. I could be wrong. You'd know more about that than I. But what I will say is these two things. Here's where you can throw it at me, Castro. Wes got the stamp of approval by his peers, especially Martin Scorsese. Give him the stamp of approval very early in his career.
Which one?
Rushmore and Bottle Rocket. Those were Scorsese's like top two Wes films, even kind of mid into his career. Like, I love those two films.
See, I've seen Bottle Rocket.
You've seen Bottle Rocket. I've seen it too. It's great.
I don't see a lot of Wes Anderson.
You don't.
Because it's his second one, right?
No. It's Bottle Rocket's his first.
One. Okay.
It's his first
when he went to
it was
film
based
school,
on a short.
Yeah, when he went to film school, I think his thesis project was the short that was Bottle Rocket, with Owen Wilson and
Luke,
very much like Owen Wilson's.
Luke's part in that film is so great, man. I don't think I've seen a better Luke Wilson performance in like arc.
Oh yeah.
I love his arc in that film.
Yeah.
But no, Bottle Rocket's great, and that's why I say he got kind of that stamp of approval pretty early on. And you're right, it's kind of like we talked about with Taxi Driver, right? Like he was barely finding his voice a little bit, and sprinkled on little Wes tropes. Where I saw a lot of Wes in that film was when they were actually doing the heist.
Oh, okay.
That's where you see those little quirky, kind of quick, witty moments. You start seeing that a little bit, but everything else felt like, I don't know, like Paris, Texas, or felt like My Own Private Idaho. Like it had this other kind of indie feel, right? I agree. But the last thing I'll say is the Sight and Sound poll came out this past December 2022, and we have talked about this. I really want to do an episode on this poll because it happens once every 10 years. They ask directors and critics to give their top 10 favorite films of all time. Not this year, not the last 10. All-time favorite films, all-time best films. And you'll have, everybody participate. Bong Joon-ho, Scorsese, Tarantino. Any director that's alive participates in the director poll. Any critic that's alive, Peter Travers. I mean, Roger Corman was a big, Roger Ebert was a big contributor of this when he was alive and stuff like that. So, come 2022, and they did it again, and Wes caught a lot of heat because essentially you want a well-rounded list, right? You want people to be like, for instance, Scorsese will have Japanese cinema, Italian cinema, American cinema, Westerns, a good variety to kind of, the way I define, like if they were to ask me, like my ultimate goal is not like great. Yeah, it'd be great, awesome to win an Oscar as a director, but I just want to be asked to be on the Sight and Sound poll. Like that's to me is almost a bigger honor. But a nice, well-rounded, list. Wes got asked, as per usual. He's somebody whose opinion matters in cinema, absolutely. And he got a lot of heat because he basically gave 10 French films.
Oh, really?
Because he's making films right now. For kind of post French Dispatch. I'd say post Isle of Dogs. It was really Isle of Dogs and on, mostly French Dispatch, where he's just really immersed in French culture because his films take place in France. The French Dispatch, especially. So he basically gave 10 French films that he's really into right now.
Because he's right now.
And that I really respect that about Wes, because the film we're going to talk about today, we're talking about Wes Anderson's 2004 adventure comedy, adventure drama comedy.
I'd say adventure comedy.
Right? The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, starring Bill Murray. Kate Blanchett, Owen Wilson, Jeff Goldblum. I mean, this cast is pretty great. A lot of
William Dafoe.
Sorry, a lot of recurring actors. Wes uses a lot of the same actors. Surprised Jason Schwartzman wasn't in this.
Or how do you say his name?
Who?
Waris Ahuwala.
Oh, the guy with the hat. Yeah, he was.
He's like in every Wes film too.
Is he
the guy who was on the Darjeeling Limited as the train? He was the conductor, but he was like the ticket person. He was the one who like took the snake out and all that kind of stuff.
I don't remember. What was he in this?
He was the cinematographer.
Yeah.
Oh, the dude with the tourniquet, right? Okay. So
there's also Bill Murray.
I said Bill Murray.
Owen Wilson.
A lot of recurring characters.
Anyways, yeah, it's an
dolphin.
The dolphin with the camera.
No, the whale, the one that was in the background, just showing.
Yeah,
Brendan Fraser.
Why wouldn't you stop talking about that lady?
Which lady?
She knows how to camera.
Oh my gosh, man! Kate Blanchett in this is so amazing. It's probably too because I just got off of watching Tar like a week ago, and she's gonna win the Oscar.
Oh,
for
she's
Tar.
The lead.
She's the lead in Tar.
Oh man,
she's gonna win the Oscar for Tar. But she's she's in terrific pictures, man. She played Bob Dylan in a fucking movie, man, and she's a woman. Like, legitimately, she's terrific. She's a terrific actress, and it always surprises me, like, how she can convert into the character, like legitimately convert into that character.
I need you to fact check that.
What?
That she was actually
Bob Dylan? Yeah, she was, or I think she was.
Fact check that.
Yeah. I think she played a young Bob Dylan. On it. No, but we just talked about Nightmare Alley. Like, her role in Nightmare Alley compared to like a role like this, dude. Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, so different.
So different. She played Bob Dylan.
I just got word from the intern.
Yeah. Thanks, intern.
Thanks, intern.
We should give our intern a name.
Huh?
Twitchy.
Twitchy the intern.
Twitchy.
There he goes.
No, but we're gonna get an intern, but they're not gonna pass, but we're not gonna fail them.
Yeah, we're gonna give him an incomplete.
Yeah,
incomplete.
A reference to this film, by the way.
Only
but yeah,
after the building birds. Then
yeah, this film was interesting. I had never seen it before. It's first time seeing it. Why
did you say the word interesting? That's a very particular word.
Anyway,
so many other ones.
How are we 20 minutes in and we haven't gone over?
We barely announced this
because Wes. We've never done a Wes Anderson pick, right?
Yes,
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
We did Fantastic Mr. Fox. I've
but
also
we've
brought
done a live action Wes film.
Yeah. Also,
has Wes done a live action Wes film?
He sure has.
Maybe one day. No, this is also my favorite director, but it's definitely a director that I feel, not that the other ones don't deserve a preface, but I feel like because stylistically it's very unique, but it's also not for everybody.
Yeah, and it's a very peculiar taste.
I feel like when I'm looking at this film, we're also looking at, the trajectory of him, because where a lot of people, you can see an individual film.
Yeah.
Every time I look at any Wes Anderson film, it's always these little milestones, and it's like, that's
There's
where he picked
quintessential.
up. Yeah,
I mean,
like that's where he picked up this characteristic, or that's where he picked up that characteristic, and he always tried different things.
That's all saying that I respect him, kind of holding to his guns. That he'll flat out say, I was on an Italian cinema kick during the making of this film, so that's why you see all these influences. This one particularly, and we'll get into that, but he was heavily influenced by Italian cinema. And Darjeeling Limited, he was heavily influenced by Indian cinema, and French Dispatch, he was heavily influenced by French cinema. So like I get into those. That's why I can relate to Wes in that regard. I get into a Western kick. I get into an Indian cinema kick. I get into an Italian neorealism kick. So like I get that so much. Although the thing about Wes that I caught early on, after I watched Grand Budapest Hotel, which is my favorite Wes Anderson film, and The French Dispatch is a close second, I realized that he influenced a generation, especially in the early 2000s, of indie cinema kind of stylistics. He influenced that. And that was my favorite era of Indian cinema. Everything from like Juno to like these quirky kind of indie films. I love them. And Wes influenced them. And then when you see Wes masterfully do his thing, I was like, I can't do this shit. I'm gonna develop my own thing because Wes is Wes.
Yeah.
Nobody can Wes like Wes. You know what I mean?
And even when people like try to say like, oh, I made a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah.
It's even if they try to mimic certain elements, you realize that there's this subtlety to him, and even the storytelling. But we can get more into that.
They don't take themselves that seriously, man. Like I remember, I don't think you were here when we screened it, Guster, but I'll show it to you after the podcast. He does an American Express commercial. That's so Wes. That's so meta Wes. But it's kind of him making fun of himself, like being self-aware, making fun of his style a little bit. Scorsese did one. James Cameron did one. So they're cool little American Express commercials that they made, almost mimicking their style in the commercial, and it kind of just making fun of their quirks that people kind of do. So it's pretty great. But ratings. Let's get into ratings.
Okay, I would like.
Who's gonna start?
Okay, I want you to start because we never start with you.
Okay.
And then I would like to ring it around the room.
Ring it around the room.
Ring it around the room.
Ring it around the rosy.
Like the ringer?
The fuck did we eat ice cream? Man, this is tough. I'll be honest with you.
Don't look at him. Look at me. And listen to
Look at me, little puppet.
Look at me, listen to Austin. And smell it all. You know, use all them
smell
three
senses.
Look at me, touch the Lord.
Oh my God.
I can't. Not during this movie. No, this one's tough for me because I didn't know what to expect. I genuinely expected something different from this film. I really did, because you see the poster a lot. It's a very popular. It's got a very big cult following too. Like a lot of people love this. I have friends
hearing about it.
outside of the law that like that friends who were actually at the film cafe when we did the last podcast, and we talk about Wes a lot, and he loves Wes Anderson too. It's one of his favorite directors, and he keeps telling me the weird thing about Wes Anderson pictures is that I get. And I'm sorry to preface it with this much kind of thing, but I have friends that know my likes and know my taste in cinema, or at least then, you know, I feel like my taste in cinema is constantly evolving, as it should, as all of ours should, I think. But I have friends that'll be like, dude, Darjeeling is going to be your favorite. No, Royal Tenenbaums is going to be your favorite. No, Life Aquatic is going to be your favorite. Moonrise Kino, you got to watch it. It's the film that you're going to love. So like, I ended up just starting from the top, and I was like, I'm gonna watch Bottle Rocket. Like I've seen kind of the newer Wes. I saw a Grand Budapest, obviously, and French Dispatch and Isle of Dogs, and I'm kind of my way back, right? So Royal Tenenbaums is something that people are like, you need to watch this. But Life Aquatic was the least recommended for me, but the most anticipated on my list. Like I was like, I really want to watch Life Aquatic. Like that's been kind of itching at me. But I didn't expect this. Just stylistically, if I saw trailers or the posters, I don't know why I expected something different.
Me too. I wasn't expecting this.
I expected a more. It's weird. I guess I expected a more like family film ish.
Okay,
and this was very edgy,
like tonality of like Fantastic Mr. Fox. In a
I
Wes
expected
Anderson
that, and this was a little more edgy and a little more daring, right? So I'll give it an 8.5. 8.5 for me. I know we always like to talk about like what was missing or stuff like that. There isn't necessarily missing. The thing is, for me, it's been hard to top Grand Budapest Hotel. For me, Grand Budapest is like, and it's also Wes's probably most famous film. It's probably the one he's known.
I'd say
the
like
most
that
for.
one had the most advertising behind it and all that kind of stuff. I think that was the one that they were pushing for the Oscar the most.
That's right.
So that one seemed to get a lot more love than anything else.
He may have won for screenwriting. No, for either
Best
that
original?
one. Yeah,
I think so. Maybe.
But anyways, it's been hard to top that film for me. It's probably because that's the first Wes Anderson film I ever saw. That's really where it's at. I think like Grand Budapest stands at like a 9.5 for me. So it's really tough to top that film. And then French Dispatch is so out there, man. It's so kind of ahead of its time too.
And then I think for you, who's like a big like cinephile, all the little references and all that kind of stuff, like, oh, did you catch that? Did you catch this? And I think it was just one of those.
So,
like,
and I was in a big French New Wave kick when we saw French Dispatch.
So it worked out perfectly for you.
So I think that's primarily why, as a film, as a standalone film, it feels great. Bill Murray's gonna Bill Murray all over the place, that part didn't change, but I did see a lot more heart in this performance. The only performance that I think tops this Bill Murray performance for me
is Ghostbusters.
Yeah, obviously. No, it's Lost in Translation.
Garfield.
I think
Garfield.
Jeez.
Meatballs.
His performance in Lost in Translation is phenomenal. It's been hard to top that for me.
Maybe
getting killed at the White House. So 8.5.
8.5. Oh.
Wow.
No,
so this is the second Wes Anderson film that I've seen.
Bottle Rocket was the only other one you'd seen?
Yeah, that's the only one, and I guess Fantastic Mr.
That's an interesting choice. What turned you on to Bottle Rocket out of all? It's your type of film, by the way. I know Bottle Rocket hits yours.
When I saw it,
oh, okay, strikes your chords. Yeah.
Look, I really liked.
You don't have to sugarcoat it.
That's not what this podcast about.
I'm a big boy.
This is not the Sugarcoat podcast, Castor.
I didn't know what was going on with the story. I understood what was going on with the story. That's not my type of story. Or how to tell a story.
That execution. Mm-hmm.
The dry humor, I'm starting to understand why the low is the low. For sure. Like Austin mentioned, for sure.
It's funny. I don't understand what you mean by that.
What do you mean?
Like, I don't know.
You got that humor, but
there's just something about the delivery. I'll say this.
I don't think it's humor. I think it's your personality.
Yeah, early on, I based myself so much around Fantastic Mr. Fox, and then when I was learning more about the director and seeing his style and everything,
you connected.
Yeah, more before even me becoming I want to do film. I was a Wes Anderson lover. So I got super into if he makes anything, I'm going to be the biggest fan of this.
Sure,
as can be.
That.
But yeah, so I've surrounded myself where then now I just have this personality.
No, but I appreciate it though. I can see where your comedy, your humor,
my styling.
Yeah. But I just think Bill Murray was the one that made this film. You know what I'm saying? It's just.
It was a performance that saved the film for you.
I just see the performance, and I just think Bill Murray has that comedic beat.
That presence.
Yeah, that anything he says is funny. Maybe it's not in the script, but since he's saying it.
And this funny, is not. I wouldn't say. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the more I think about this film and Bill Murray, I don't think this is a typical Bill Murray role.
It's not, but he still makes it funny.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's still funny, but it's kind of deep, man. It's kind of a deep character.
Yeah.
Going back a little bit because I go into the acting.
Yeah.
Which ones are Bill Murray's films? Ghostbusters, Caddyshack,
Groundhog Day, Lost in Translation, obviously. Again, another not necessarily Bill Murray. The Lost in Translation is a more Bill Murray role than this.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
No,
I think so. Really? Yeah, I think so.
He did Garfield.
But you know what I'll say about this? When I think of Bill Murray films, even when you think of Caddyshack, where he's playing kind of a dopey role, there's something about Bill Murray almost commanding confidence that there's nothing you could throw at him that he can't catch, and everything, and then that delivery kind of seals the joke. And I mean, I know it's a quintessential, but a lot of people think of Ghostbusters, and when you look at his character there, even when the world's falling apart, Bill Murray's still well, that's kind of weird, I think, but it's in this one, and maybe it's in Lost in Translation, there's a more honest kind of for sure. I can't be the most confident guy in the room. And you see this character being the one who has to fight for it tooth and nail, because even though everybody looks at him as the big guy on the screen, that's the thing.
That's the thing about. I think you're right, man. That's a very interesting perspective, because I think in his other roles, the world is burning around him, and he could care less. In these roles, like Lost in Translation, this the world is burning around him, and this is his last chance to save it, or that's it. But he's actually making an effort to save.
Don't get me wrong. I think he was perfect for this role. I always see who could play this role.
Yeah.
From the 30 minutes that I've watched it, I don't know who could play this role.
From the 30 minutes that you watched
it? From the 30 minutes that we've watched it, since we watched
it.
Yeah,
I agree.
In between the blackouts, right?
Just as a fun kind of little nod to that, the writers... the writers, this was co-written by Noah Baumbach, which he's become a phenomenal director all in his own right. But he was kind of Wes's co-writer. If it wasn't him, it was Roman Coppola. If it wasn't Roman Coppola, it was Owen Wilson. But Noah Baumbach has been one of his primary co-writers. And if you don't know him, I mean, he was just in Oscar news for stuff like Marriage Story, which was a huge film.
That he did not like.
I loved it. I loved Marriage Story. What do you mean?
You said, because I told you I really loved it, but you were like, it's not what they're hyping it up to. And I was like, it's pretty good.
You know what?
That's
I think
I did,
but you know what? You have to remember that year it was against.
Like, that's what you said.
That's what it was. It was against like. Man, he's
Parasite, Irishman.
Yeah, man. So it wasn't to me. It was,
my god,
it was an interesting year. But Noah Baumbach's an amazing storyteller, and now he's co-writing with his wife Greta Gerwig, they just co-wrote the Barbie movie, which is getting a lot of buzz.
The Barbie?
Yeah,
they co-wrote.
They co-wrote Barbie.
Wow. What?
Yep. Noah Baumbach.
Let's go party.
Let's go party.
Oh my god.
So, anyways, rating.
Yeah, rating. We're half an hour in. We're 40 minutes in.
Starting off because I still want to hear you guys.
Yeah, we're just starting off. We're just barely kicking off this.
7.3.
Okay.
Okay.
7.3.
Hey, you know what? There's people that get to be on my boat, and there's people that we're
No pun
abandoning on an
intended.
island.
Yeah,
You know.
I'm asking for a lifesaver. Okay.
Yeah. We'll give you the candy and say, "Here you go, bud." Okay, 7.3. Austin.
You know what I meant?
I just picture throwing Castro like a candy.
There's
It's
your
a life
lifesaver.
preserver.
Oh, it's like my son let you know.
Anyways, Austin rating.
Little.
Badger.
Come on, man. Shoot him straight, dude. Shoot him straight.
No, just to go back.
No, you shoot
guys
blanks.
are right.
That's-
Wes hasn't won, but he's been nominated 7 times.
Seven time for writing and director.
Screenplay for Royal Tenenbaums.
Nice.
Fantastic
that's
Mr. Fox is an animated feature. Moonrise
Of course.
Kingdom for screenplay. Best Picture, Director, and Screenplay for Grand Budapest, and Isle of Dogs for Best Animated.
So for what?
For
I Love Dogs for Best
Isle of
Animated.
Dogs for Best
Oh, okay,
Animated.
okay. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Grand
but-
Budapest
but-
was his most nominated.
Yeah.
3.
There.
So that's his most.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Wow.
Get it? Because he has like so many.
Yeah, no. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Wow, even 7 feels low to me. He doesn't get a lot of love.
But
from
I
me.
mean, I don't.
You give it a 7?
No.
I was like,
He's been nominated. Wes has been
Oh, okay,
nominated
yeah,
for 7
but, you said
Oscars.
something about
No. Anyways,
No, I'm not a dick.
7.3. What's your rating?
So this is my 4th Wes Anderson picture. I think we discussed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to understand his style and the way he does things, and it explains a lot of the Lao now. I've seen Fantastic Mr. Fox, French Dispatch, Darjeeling, and Life Aquatic. I think this one's my personal favorite.
Oh.
Wow.
This one.
Yeah, out of that list.
Yeah.
No, honestly, man, I love all of those films, but no, French Dispatch for me is still better. But
Really.
but this,
Yeah, I wanna see that one.
That's interesting.
Before I watched.
Dude, we need to sit you down and walk you through French Dispatch. Upon its first viewing, it's jarring. It's not confusing. It's jarring.
Hey, man, if we're in a Wes Anderson fix, I'll pick it for the next one.
Oh shit!
No, but it's one of those where, because it's an anthology, it's different stories.
Different
but,
beats.
I mean, I know that this doesn't sound like something Wes would do, but it just punches you in the face
It really
with
does.
his style on the get-go.
Like
Yeah,
this.
dude. Yeah, no,
Like,
it punches you in
sauce.
the face.
Yeah, because when we watched it the first time, the first few minutes, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, it was hitting us too fast. Like, yeah. Yeah, in fact, I think I watched it with Ash, and she was just like, we gotta redo this film. We're
And
gonna
that
watch
was
it
also
again
the same
because,
year as like Last Night in Soho
Yeah.
too, which Ash loved. I know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that was an interesting year. It's a very interesting.
But
year.
yeah.
So
now you're
your
interested.
personal favorite? What's your rating?
9.3.
Really?
The only thing that was really taking me off,
Oh,
I think I pointed it to you guys out.
Was the
Owen
dog.
Wilson's accent kept going in and out.
Oh yeah,
Was there a
well
reason
that's
for that?
And
Huh?
I think it's just because it was
I'm sure he
Actor.
needed
it was early
man.
2000s.
That and like, I'll be honest with you, as great as Owen did in this role,
he wasn't.
I could have picked 10
Yeah.
other actors.
Yeah, but it's Wes's guys.
Yeah, but I could have picked Luke over Owen for this.
Really?
I would have picked Luke
for the
over
soft-spoken,
Child.
child.
Definitely fits a little bit more his brother.
Really? I mean,
plus even the hair color is the same as Bill Murray's.
no, but that was the point.
Yeah, I don't know, but no, I think
I love that you
That
cut
was,
it.
I'll defend it to the nail.
No, but I think that as great as Wes does and as great as Owen does in this, I think he's the only role I could have picked out and been like, maybe we could replace him with another actor.
Really?
And I think he did great. I think half of me hated like the accent and kind of like turned me off, but then the actual performance had a lot of heart. I think it was favoritism over.
I think the accent was fine. It just they kept going in and out.
I don't think it was fine.
But it
I'm
fit
sorry,
from where it's from and kind of
no,
like
it's
the
sure,
backstory.
but I don't.
The only parts that I thought mattered and I thought he executed well was the fact that I don't know. I think Owen Wilson has this kind of like like a charming kind of fragile tone to him, and I saw a lot of those elements, and when they would come out,
and they're important. And by the way,
well.
the accent, it doesn't matter that it wasn't good, honestly, because the quirkiness and wittiness of the film kind of justifies it.
That's why
it really does. Like the accent genuinely doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or not, the performance, I agree. Like the actual layers behind the character, were terrific. I agree.
Yeah.
So, what's your rating?
Oh, I have another point.
You said what was your other point?
No, the other thing that got to me was like the ending. Like I understand what Wes was doing, but I would have preferred if Bill Murray's character would have died instead of that.
But doesn't that complete Murray's arc?
It needed to.
It does, but I think I told you guys, I think either one of them could have died, and it would have completed their arc.
No,
but I would have preferred to see Murray's character die.
Wrong.
I feel like when he pulls out the letter, that kind of completes it.
Nah.
I think it does.
No, because number one, what about the jaguar shark? Biggest fucking chase that they have in the whole film, and he never sees it. Number two, the fact that he lost somebody who probably the closest person besides his wife and Jacqueline, who we never fucking meet. That's what pissed me off. But that's probably the closest person he's ever allowed himself to get close to. And for him to lose that person opens him up as a person again. His world was so closed, and now he gets to kind of go off and restart his life a little bit. I think I
also think that it wouldn't have finished Bill Murray's arc or Owen Wilson's, because Owen Wilson was looking for a father, and not till the very end that he got a father. Yeah. And a person who, even though Bill Murray, he still didn't know how to describe it. He was like, I thought of a new nickname. You can call me Papa Steve. And it's kind of like he still was like, I don't know how to do this, but I want to try because I know how much it means to you. Yeah. And then once he gave Owen Wilson that, then after Owen Wilson died, then it was kind of like, okay, well, now he needs to complete his arc, but then ended it on a kind of like fatherly role. So I don't know.
Not just that, but the letter's a big deal, right? He keeps it. He kept the letter.
That's why I feel like with just the letter alone.
Yeah.
We could have seen him go.
But it didn't do any.
Yeah, the letter was a big moment for the connection.
I feel like the letter was more of like him finally being able to accept that he could have done it if he needed to.
Well, I think that you're right. I think just the letter humanizes him. And once the letter humanizes him and the son dies, the son is like the nail in the coffin, or taking out the last nail in the coffin, almost like, right, now you're free. Now you can actually like live life again. So I think the letter humanizes him to be able to establish a connection. And then that connection ultimately breaks his core to like, all right, you can be this person again. Because remember, he was losing his footing. He was getting ready to finish his career as a filmmaker / deep diver, right?
Explorer.
Yeah, so he was getting ready to give that up, throw in the towel. His marriage is falling apart. I love when we see the flashbacks of him. That's very telling. It's very telling when we see the flashbacks of him with the longer hair and the beard and more energy and more happiness. He wasn't that guy anymore. And meeting this character and having his world kind of open up again, to the point where like when they saw the shark, he was like, even if I want to kill him, I can't. But it's kind of beautiful in a sense. Like I don't have to kill it anymore.
But you know what?
He let go of that. He let go of so much.
My favorite part of that is that last line where what everybody's thinking about is like, oh, do we have dynamite? Like, oh, is it? Are you gonna go kill it? Are we gonna go after it? And he was like, I just wonder if he remembers me. And it's kind of like that's all he really cared about. For everybody else, more than like anything else, is like, is anybody gonna remember me? And that's what he's like fighting on for so hard, you know.
Yeah.
And is that going a little off topic, but is that Wes Anderson's style? The way he was doing the animals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's loved stop motion animation. Yeah. A lot of it comes from I think it's Ray Harryhausen.
But has he ever done it like mixture with like real life?
I haven't seen it in his other ones.
No.
I've only seen it with this one.
I like that.
And I think this one was right before Fantastic Mr. Fox. But he's always loved the stop motion animation. It comes from if you ever saw the original like Jason and the Argonauts or like a Clash of the Titans and the original claymation animation. He loved those, and that's what inspired him a lot with his animation styles. So that's why he did stop motion for Fantastic Mr. Fox and also Isle of Dogs.
So you said Fantastic was after this one?
Yeah, I think so.
He actually did Darjeeling Limited and then Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh, okay.
And in between there, he did the American Express.
So the intern came back in and mentioned that to Austin. Thank you.
Rating.
For sure.
Rating 8.9.
8.9.
8.9.
8.9.
What?
So let's say it's probably safe to say this isn't. Oh, but this is one of your favorite Wes films.
You know
Top
what?
5?
Huh?
Is it your first?
For sure. This was my favorite for like the longest time.
Really?
Like I watched Fantastic Mr. Fox and then I watched the Grand Budapest. And it's funny because I've had this like weird thing where like every time I would watch a new one, it instantly hit the top. And then for a while, like I watched this one. And I loved it. I loved how peeled back it was from the West style and also how you saw that trajectory building. But I think I really love the storytelling. I thought it was so interesting. Those moments where they say these lines that feel important. Yeah. And it's it's his thing. It's almost like he's doing it regardless of, like the characters speak regardless of the environment. They speak towards the story. And I don't know. Yeah. I find that so interesting. So this was my favorite for the longest time. I love the humor in it. All their little quirky moments. Austin's favorite part was when Bill Murray's running out of an explosion and says, well, shit, they're still in there. And then he's just sprinting out. Yeah. And I don't know. I love
it just reminds me of like when we're playing video games, we're like, guys, they have guns.
Yeah. By the way, that whole sequence... That whole sequence of them like gearing up and was like Bottle Rocket.
Yeah.
That's where you saw Bottle Rocket and something like this, man. It's
and I love the trajectory, and I don't know, I had so much love for this film. And then after that, the one that's taken the spot, and I can appreciate every other film for his the growth and stylings, and I love French Dispatch, but because me as I guess an appreciator of cinema, I've enjoyed movies that are more metaphorical and more that dive more into the subcontext.
Love Darjeeling for that.
I love Darjeeling, and it's surprising. I showed it to you guys, and I didn't make it a podcast pick, and maybe we'll come back to it. But that one, because of these layered metaphors and these brothers trying to connect into the meaning of it all.
I've never heard of that one.
That one, it's great. It's so.
As the lead, really.
Yeah, Jason Schwartzman.
The two brothers are...
it's Owen Wilson, of course, and Adrian Brody?
Adrian Brody.
Yeah. And they're three brothers...
Adrian Brody's role in that is great, actually.
Yeah, the story is that they're three brothers who recently lose their father and have been estranged from each other for years, and then now go to India to try to reconnect.
Oh, okay.
But it's super layered and metaphorical and in Wes Anderson style that,
I would probably, by the way, like if we do get on a Wes Anderson month or whatever, I'd probably pick Grand Budapest.
Of course.
And then,
French Dispatch, that one I just want to see it.
Yeah. You got to see it. And the thing is, I love those movies and easily those ones add on to just him actualizing in his style. Yeah. You see so much confidence come out of Wes as the director because of how structured everything is. What were we going to ask?
So since you give it an 8.9, what was missing?
What was missing? To me, it's just, I know that this isn't Wes's
Yeah, that's
best work. Yeah, it's sad.
That's a
like if you had asked me this earlier in my trajectory to view West films, I would have scored it much higher because, like I said, I really like.
But as you've developed,
now I'm only putting it there just to make room for things like Isle of Dogs, which is going to be its best animated film to date. Obviously The French Dispatch and Grand Budapest, because
I also feel like you haven't seen it in a while, but I felt like Grand Budapest rates low for you. It's also one of those things where, like, for instance, I love the Beatles, right? But I don't hate, but I really dislike, my least favorite Beatles songs are the 8 tracks that people listen to left and right. Yeah. I love the B tracks. I love the songs that really, like, people don't care about and don't know about. So, like, with Wes, it's probably that, right? Like, Grand Budapest, everybody knows and loves, and it's like...
Yeah, I mean, for a while, like, everybody was kicking on Grand Budapest, and for storytelling, I loved a lot of the elements that were kind of sprinkled around in it, and I loved how you saw a lot more of the confidence, because to me, Grand Budapest was coming at a time where the last thing he made was Fantastic Mr. Fox, and he wanted to use Fantastic Mr. Fox as a way to understand his style, and basically say, like, I can't always move the camera or do things the way I would want to do them, but I can do it in a stop motion film. So after Fantastic Mr. Fox, it was kind of like, I understand my style a lot more. So then after that, it was kind of like, how do I make this into a live action film? And I really like that, the way he executed it in Grand Budapest Hotel. But then I think I have a lot more appreciation for like The French Dispatch and the way he executed there. Yeah, I think for you, the reason you like it, a lot of people like it, is because the Grand Budapest is very much Wes's epic, it's an epic that strands all these different like.
I just love the art.
Or which one?
No,
French Dispatch. No, French Dispatch.
Grand Budapest. I think what I love about it is the arc for these characters, and how, I mean, naturally the romanticism behind this, the leads, right? Saoirse Ronan is an actress I really love, and granted, have a big crush on. But Saoirse Ronan was super young, man, and she did fantastic in this. I forget the Tony Rivoli, I think is the other actor's name. Yeah, Tony Rivoli. Yeah, Tony Rivoli. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
The intern.
Which sucks, man, because he's a really good actor, and the last thing you really saw him in was like this bully part in Spider-Man. But he was great in Grand Budapest. Yeah, Tony Rivoli. And then, not to mention, the great F. Murray Abraham is one of the main leads, and his kind of arc too plays really well. I won't ruin it because there's a huge connection, but and then Voldemort himself, man, like his fun role is kind of the catalyst of the film. Isn't it the actor that plays Voldemort? No.
No, it is. You're right. I keep forgetting that.
I forget his name, but he's terrific in that. He's kind of the quirkiness of the whole film and stuff, right? So I just think
I need to rewatch it. I just remember that, like, for a while people were saying that that film really, like, it's his best. It puts all of his other films to shame. And
I wouldn't go that far,
but for a while, like, I thought that there was so much to appreciate in the rest of the catalog.
Absolutely.
That I thought, like, I understand that this is his freshest one, and it's almost like he got all the good elements from every other film and tossed it into that one. But
not to mention, like, the use of miniatures, the use of train carts and stuff like that. I'm sure he got that from his stop motion days.
Oh yeah, so, like, he learned a lot. That's why right after that one, he did Isle of Dogs, and Isle of Dogs. Again, is going back to that super stylized, just very different for him. But
this has very quickly become an appreciation of Wes Anderson podcast. But ultimately, cool. Getting back to the Life Aquatic, I think this film has something special about it for sure. This really cool tonality. I was mentioning that, like, Cate Blanchett's character is really, really appealing to me, mostly because I hadn't seen her. I've seen her in a lot of roles, man, but she can camouflage very well into whatever role she needs to. But not just her. I really like Willem Dafoe's character in this too, right? Almost his second. But
Not if I see you first.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Yeah, he's like,
I see you first.
I will knock your teeth.
But his
Not if I see you
character-
first. He just runs away.
By the way,
Really looks
another go-to Wes Anderson actor. Like he's used him, including for his role in The French Dispatch is actually really fun. But yeah, I mean, but Wes uses him in the most unique ways. Every actor,
He's
every
really
actor
thrown
he uses
Defoe.
him. Yeah.
Defoe's been the German, and then he's been the hitman guy and all that.
In French Dispatch.
Oh, he was the rat in Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Fantastic Mr. Fox. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So
He was the Green Goblin in Spider-Man.
He was directed by Wes Anderson.
Yeah. Imagine if Wes Anderson directed the Spider-Man picture.
That's so funny.
No, but anyways, I wanted to ask you. I didn't research this enough, but does Wes use a consistent cinematographer or?
Yeah, that Johann.
Yeah, he had a
I'm
weird
so
name.
sorry that I'm blanking on the last part. But yeah, he's used them
Is that his
consistently.
guy?
That's his guy.
Okay.
And I mean that I think is a person who's really helped him find the Wes Anderson
His visual
style.
literacy.
And you know what I've noticed? Coming from more of a DP background,
Mm-hmm.
I've been paying a lot more attention to the lenses that they use.
Yeah.
And you can definitely tell that these aren't fluke shots. And it isn't like the only element that they're trying to pay attention to is symmetry. Just because some of the lens selection, it's very specific where they're wide angle lenses that have a little bit of warping, but not too much, where it's able to create these very boxy scenes. And then when they create sets, and they've talked about it before, whenever they're creating sets, they have to create to a certain dimension so it always fits into the
it
same
has
scale.
to be. Well, that and like the symmetry, right? The symmetry has to be perfect for Wes shots for the most part.
That's why you look like in this film, whenever they go to each room in the boat, like they're all the same, where it encapsulates the entire room and then goes through the entire room and all that. And
that's a very kind of theater-esque kind of approach to, for instance,
it's a nice blend.
Design.
It's a really nice blend. But yeah, he's used as cinematographer constantly. This film, I think what I really appreciated about it, that like I said, the reason it was on the top for so long, he really found kind of how to use movement as character, you could say, and especially in the moments where he would move about the boat, but it was these very straight edges of like, you know, going from this room to this room and then going up the ladder very straight, stopping here and going around. And I don't know, I felt like that's where he kind of found the organization in the chaos. And you know, because
sure.
And that's what you see in all of his films. There's always chaos around him, and yet his characters are always acting very proper. Even like Owen Wilson coming out and being like, "Hey Steve, I'm gonna fight you," and then he gets socked in the face, and it's kind of like, "Oh dude, just throw a punch. You don't have to say you're gonna hit me."
You never tell me that you're gonna fight me.
Yeah,
you just leave him shit in the face and sucker.
Yeah, you throw a little smile.
By the way, this is kind of sort of indirectly, very very indirectly, based on an actual person, believe it or not. So not necessarily the quirkiness or anything like that, but there was a famous deep diver. I think he was French, or maybe he was Italian. But I was reading about that, just FYI, not a biopic in the slightest sense of the word or anything like that. It was just an idea that they got and thought, well, this was fun to kind of work with. And that's kind of ballsy, man. It's kind of ballsy as a writer director.
Those are usually where the ideas get
sparked. I also want to add this in here because I was going to bring it up at the beginning of the podcast, or I brought it up with Austin when I talked to him yesterday, because he's like, "Hey guys, I got the Criterion version of the film." Yeah, and I was saying that's my least favorite version of the film for one super small reason. At the very beginning, they're at an Italian film festival. So what happens is that they're showing the film, having a big premiere for it, and the guy comes out and he's speaking in Italian, and you get the classic like West subtitles that like describe what the guy's saying, right? In the original dub of the film, there were no subtitles for the Italian speaking parts. Now, I know it sounds dumb. The jokes just hit a little bit harder without it, because the performances lent themselves to that kind of like, somebody's talking in a language that you don't understand, and then you just get that person being like, "Well, how rude! I wouldn't have said that to you," you know, stuff like, "Oh god."
It's okay, I'll put it up to an 8. Don't worry.
No, but I thought those jokes were like some of my favorites. Where especially like that guy who's talking behind his back in one of the other rooms, where he says, "Are those guys talking about me?" And then he goes in, and I remember when I first watched the film, it's like a solid minute of this guy going like, "Oh, like this and that," and then going around, and then Bill Murray's just staring at him, and then it cuts back to it's like, I know they say that when people say that, it's just because they're jealous, but it hurts. It hurts bad. And the first time I saw it, because you don't get the subtitles, it just was so much funnier. I think in the Criterion, Wes definitely chose the words and the diction and everything they say. Like in all of his films. Approved. Yeah. So that's why now you even see in his newer films, whenever they speak French or any type of language, now that's a part of the style, and especially in the French.
Absolutely.
Dispatch.
I was going to say, let's touch on that a little bit because, again, he was very heavily influenced by Italian cinema. So much so, I love Wes for this, by the way. I love Wes for this. We talked about it on this podcast. If you guys didn't notice, there was a big homage to 8.5 in this film. Federico Fellini's great 8.5. The scene where we see the I think it's when they're up in the sky with the balloon, the bare feet.
Oh,
bare feet in the air. You remember 8.5? He's like a balloon
above the cards, right? Yeah,
wow.
That's an 8.5. Homage.
Really? Wow.
So just stuff like that, right? But what I love Wes for is not just the 8.5 homage. He loved Italian cinema in this, section of his life so much that he shot in Italy for the most part. Not only did he just shoot in Italy in the Italian Riviera for this, but he shot at Cinecittà, which is the quote unquote kind of Universal of Italy, Universal Studios of Italy. Oh, okay. So much so that like all the great Italian filmmakers made films at Cinecittà. It was that kind of cornerstone of Italian cinema, especially in the 1960s, to make like films. Wes not only, and again, to the point where this fucking studio literally has a theme park, just like Universal Studios in America, like legitimately. Wow. But he shot there just because he wanted to be kind of wrapped up. He built all the sets at Cinecittà, like literally at that studio. So I just thought that was amazing.
Fantastic sets.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So I thought that was great. Just to touch a little bit on that kind of Italian influence and those stylistic kind of choices too. If you see kind of the lighter Italian comedies, something like La Dolce Vita to a certain degree, like these kind of lighter Jacques Demy even moments, you see that in this film, which I have told you about. I saw that later. I realized later how much the Darjeeling Limited was influenced by Satyajit Ray.
Yeah, after watching
so much Satyajit Ray, I'm like, holy shit! And then I realized. Researched rather that Satyajit Ray is one of Wes Anderson's favorite filmmakers. I've been advocating Satyajit Ray lately just because I've been on the kick of him, and my wife gave me a book for Christmas that just kind of revamped that love for him, I think. But I wanted to just mention the end shot in this film is a direct homage to the last film in the Apu trilogy of Satyajit Ray.
When they're all walking together?
Yeah. Well, yes. But so I won't, this necessarily doesn't really ruin it. But in the last film of the Apu trilogy, Apu becomes a father. But he was kind of an illegitimate father. He had left his kid.
Oh, okay.
He had left his kid, and then he kind of reconnects with the kid because the kid had been staying at his parents' house or at his wife's parents' house. But the last shot is the kid wanting, like, they reconnected so much that he walks away like, I can't be a dad. This isn't for me. Like, I can't do this. After us seeing such a big connection with him and the kid. And then he sees the kid run to him after he leaves. And he's like, well, I want to go with you. I want to go with you. And he kind of ultimately has to make that decision. And the way he, without dialogue, makes that decision is he picks up the kid, puts him on his shoulders, and walks away.
Wow.
So for Bill Murray to pick up the kid, put him on his shoulders, and walk down the street type of thing, direct homage, almost frame by frame, frame for frame, of I think it's called, the name of the film is called The World of Apu, in the Apu trilogy, the last film, the last of the trilogy. Wow. So he loves Satyajit Ray, man, and there's so much influences in this. So yeah, just something to mention about. His influences.
It's just that. It's all the little like influences and how much I think like he appreciates kind of like what you preach. He appreciates the cinema before, so he can make something better now, and I that's what I.
It's
really
hard
admire.
not to. It's
What's
really
up?
hard not to.
Without even thinking about it.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Starting with the first. Start with the fifth,
Smash.
and then smash.
Yeah.
Starting with the fifth to your favorite Wes Anderson.
Pass.
Go.
Fifth to favorite?
Yeah.
Okay. From my fifth,
Right off the bat.
it's gonna be Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Really?
What?
I thought that was your favorite.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of
No,
your favorite
no.
films of all time.
Okay.
No. We're putting Fantastic Mr. Fox. We're putting this one probably at number 4, and then
How you would tell your audience, like, Wes Anderson people that are starting, like, since you're a big fan.
like, is it a recommendation on what to watch first? To
No,
last?
no, this
no.
is
Your
yours.
favorites.
Yours.
Your favorites.
My
your favorites.
favorites?
Yeah, because you're gonna have fans.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, okay, who's
Fantastic
the-
Mr. Fox is 5.
Yeah,
That's
Fantastic Mr.
shocked.
Fox
It's
is.
blowing my mind.
I thought that was your favorite film.
I thought that was your number 1. Yeah.
No. So that's my number 5. This one's I'd say probably like my number 4.
Like, like,
3 has no. I think that's when I start saying it's the Grand Budapest,
Wow.
French Dispatch, and then Darjeeling Limited's my number 1.
Wow.
Okay, so Darjeeling, we have to see that one instead then. Instead of French Dispatch.
You're gonna watch it, and it's gonna be
All
very
of them are
similar
great,
to
man.
this.
Those top 3 are fantastic.
But it's going to be
Ooh.
metaphorical.
You know what we should do? I'm so down to do this because I was telling Austin that my next pick was either going to be a Fellini pick or a Sayed G. Ray pick.
Okay.
So if what? So if I do like, Pather Panchali, which is the first film of the Apu trilogy or something, and then we do Darjeeling just as a mere Sayed G. Ray. That'd be cool.
I remember I was super down to show you guys Darjeeling. I would love to show you, and
But okay, since would French Dispatch be a little bit more?
No, you know what? I'll change my answer.
I think so.
I'll say Fantastic Mr. Fox is probably number 4, and this one's number 5.
No, you just said it. It's on record.
Ah, man.
That's fair. That's
Rats. I'd say they're both that toss up. I love his animated stuff. I cannot knock down his animated stuff, and honestly, it probably should have gone higher. But I have to admit that as his trajectory's gone on, he only gets better and better.
I do think you would like French Dispatch more than Darjeeling.
Mm.
Excuse me, just stylistically, again, Darjeeling is very heavily influenced by Indian cinema, and Indian cinema is not. I'm scared to show you guys Sayed because Sayed. I love something that Sandra said. We actually watched the film that she bought for me, Criterion that she bought for me for Christmas, called Devi. It's a pretty terrific film about this girl who basically is convinced that she's a goddess, and her father-in-law is the one that convinces this of her because he's like this religious fanatic, and because of this she can't leave with the husband to like start a new life, and it's really terrific. But Sandra watched it, and again, Sandra's not a huge advocate of foreign cinema yet. She watched it and she was like, man, that was really great, and it wasn't hard to follow. He was straight to the point. I think anybody in any language could understand this. It really just paint the picture for you really well. So I'm scared to show you a Sayed G. Ray pick, but I think it'd be a great kind of parallel if we do Darjeeling.
I mean, we just watched this one, so don't worry.
No, but yeah, that's great. That's great.
Do you feel that I mean, sometimes we talk about like the actors being the big standout in the film because without the actor, the story might have not punched as hard, or the dialogue wouldn't have punched as hard.
I agree.
Do you feel like with a film like this, because of comedic beats and all that, more of it comes from the story, or do you think a lot of it comes from the actor's ability to deliver?
I'm gonna get hated on this.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a story, but I think it's Bill Murray.
Yeah.
So you think it really is just he knows timing and comedy?
I think it's just like Wes Anderson. Like that's why he sticks with like Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson, because he knows these guys have these things,
Yeah.
And
they have
to be fair, by the
this
way, and that's something to note for our listeners. You might think somebody like Owen Wilson got started through things that are like Luke Wilson with Old School or Wedding Crashers, and they hit big in these comedies. No, they went to school with Wes Anderson in Dallas and Austin. They met in Austin, Texas.
Bottle Rocket was like one of their first films that all of them.
All three of them were at UT. By the way, there's a nod to UT when the kidnappers or whatever like playing cards, and then the dude turns around, he's wearing a Longhorns beanie.
Oh yeah.
That's where
no
Wes.
way.
Yeah, legitimately.
That.
In this, he went to UT, and that's where he met Owen, and Owen became his writing partner. And then, you know, they both wanted to be actors. So they all became kind of how we became friends, right? Through college and stuff. Like, fell in love with cinema, wanted to tell stories together, and Bottle Rocket kind of kicked that off. And well, they had made a few other shorts before that. But yeah, just if you didn't know, Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson, their careers are directly responsible. Wes Anderson is directly responsible for their careers, essentially.
Yeah, I say it's more of the characters, because this is my second Wes Anderson film. The first one was Fantastic Mr. Fox and
Bottle Rocket.
And Bottle Rocket, right? So I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I just think it's more like you can have a really good script, but you can mess it up if you don't have the right actor. And then what I'm saying about the right actor or actresses or whatever, it's those guys that just have a little bit more than just your average, and Bill Murray is definitely one of those.
When you think of, I had never seen this film, just like you, right? When you think of Life Aquatic, you don't think Wes, you think Bill.
Very true. When I saw the trailer, I was like, "Oh, okay, Bill Murray. I'll take this."
That's true. And
I don't think Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why it kind of caught you for like
a
much more
I'm
upbeat,
with you too,
a much more upbeat, lighthearted kind of thing, as opposed to like.
And that was very naive of me, because I know Wes, I know his style. That's very naive of me, because I thought in my head, oh, it's gonna be this immersive kind of new wave of storytelling through Bill Murray, and we're going to be immersed in this submarine and go through the ocean and kind of tell the story of this magical, fantastic realism. But no, it was a Wes Anderson picture, of course.
No, and
stuff like that, which is great. That's what I was expecting. I
just feel like with this film, it's like we said, it's really interesting role for Bill Murray, because I think the comedy makes it a sit well. I'd say the jokes make the film sit well. The story's really interesting. That whole idea of everybody trying to be seen and heard and the wants and you know, when you go into like the storytelling and when you're trying to write a good story, you're trying to write characters with really solid wants, and how do they kind of actualize on that, and that power struggle. Yeah. And I just,
by the way, I could be wrong. I mean, Wes is interesting, the fact that for the most part he's always kind of required, or enjoyed rather, having a co-writer. I like to think that those sentiments come from Noah's side of sensibilities.
Okay.
You know, if you think about his films, which is a great combination. But by the way, they were sitting in a cafe in New York, in a restaurant, an Italian restaurant. They were sitting down writing the script. They'd come every day, come and work and write and eat. And a lot of the names of the characters, or the name of the boat, for instance, all of that, were just like dishes off the menu, or waiters' names, or that's where they got the names.
Really?
Like for the film.
Oh my god!
But I just wanted to point out that I think Noah's a huge influence in like the sweetness, kind of more touchy kind of moments.
It's great.
I think so.
I mean, because and that's what I really liked about like Darjeeling Limited is that when you look at the want of the characters and how they all kind of competing and the blend and the situations that occur because of them, it makes for really interesting storytelling. And
by the way, Roman Coppola, another co-writer of Wes, did a second unit for this film.
Oh, really?
He did second unit. And he's a Coppola. He's legitimately Francis's nephew. But he's a director and storyteller on his own. But he's Wes's co-writer, and he did second unit stuff for this film.
Did you feel like the story did it sit well for you, or did you feel like the story was predictable at all?
No, not at all. No, I thought it was terrific. What affected me was, usually in any other situation, if I'm being honest, in any other situation, it would annoy me that we get that line, and I know it was this huge twist that like kind of set up the film. I was like, oh, cool. He shoots blanks. In any other film, it would have pissed me off. In any other film, it would have been like, well, then what the fuck was the point? But in this, the arc was never about whether he's a father or not necessarily. It was about a sense of maturity and a sense of like holistic, humanistic moments for him to become human again. It was about that. It wasn't just about fatherhood or being a father. It was that through fatherhood, he got a glimpse of life again. Yeah. So again, in any other film, it would have pissed me off. It would have been too easy, because it would have been too like diminishing, to like, okay, shoots blanks. Sure, dramatically, it's a dramatic point to drive the narrative forward. And then a thing that Austin mentioned that was like, oh, that could have been cool, was the father, Defoe's character. Yeah. Right. And that's fine. That's fun. But for me, it just would have just been too cheeky. It would have pissed me off in any other film. And in this film, it sat great.
Well, also like with Defoe's character, it's a small arc, but it's supposed to kind of show you that Defoe really is the second oldest person there besides Bill Murray and his wife.
Yeah.
And he's fighting. He'll do anything and everything to gain the respect of being like a seat at the table, not only as like a friend, but just like as somebody.
He was the first to step up, right? Jokingly, he was. I didn't follow those instructions. How the fuck was anybody else supposed to follow those instructions? But he was the first to step up to the line. He was the most noble and the most.
That's great. When he steps up and he's smiling, he's like, wait, I want to do it again. Go back.
But yeah, that was great. No, I think all around the characters, the performances, the story.
It's a good story. It's just it's a different way to tell a story.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm not used to that.
I want to show more Wes films. I just didn't want to go back to back, but it's weird. It's weird because
I like that.
You know what? It's like it's not experimental. Mm-hmm. It's not an overt comedy because, like you said, it's a comedy drama kind of adventure, and they all kind of play into this very unique style. Ton of heart. He makes films just genuinely in his own Wes way, and I don't know. I feel like nobody else can do what he does.
Absolutely not.
And plus, his stories aren't these super cheeky little family stories. Even like when I've gone back, like when I was younger and watched Phantasm and Fox, I just thought like, oh, what a fun story about a bunch of animals that get to the city. Right. But then now that I've watched it, it's really interesting because you see that heavy elements of like he's a guy going through a midlife crisis. Yeah. Who he doesn't know how to navigate this new world that doesn't need him to be what he used to be, and he can't find validation in.
Using probably one of the most competent men in entertainment's voice to also depict that.
Oh yeah,
he's George Clooney. It's fucking George Clooney in the lead, playing this kind of
all the
character, right? Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah,
great. I mean,
my rating might.
Before you do the Austin, do you have anything to say about this film that I think offer up some perspective that you probably that we missed?
From an editing perspective, you didn't think there was some weird edits there?
There was. But it was Wes.
But that's Wes.
Yeah. Did you?
Wait, there was one thing, and I wanted to ask you that. I don't know if you noticed, there was a huge color change during the pirate scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it on a couple of different screens, but what it's always meant to kind of show is it's like most of the environment is very cool because there's this kind of down note on like he's running out of money, he's running out of respect from people around him and all that, and it gets like he's fed up, and then that color shift is just rage. It's kind of like it's him kind of coming back, but it's just him angry at like
I'll throw something else. I'll throw another wrench in there. I think more than that, I think emotionally you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think Wes was just having fun with style.
Oh, yeah.
And when you look at either old or new pirate films, pirate fights, that's the style you see.
Yeah, that's true.
They overcrank the camera. They're warmer tones. You see
it wasn't about symmetry anymore. It was about following him and getting this little action sequence.
It was. I think he was just having fun with like.
By the way, he shot like 30 bullets out of that gun.
But again, it was just right? Like it's that style of like almost like exploitation films too. Like when we see like these fun, quirky, comedic, like Monty Python-esque battle scenes and stuff like that.
The intern gets a knife to the shoulder. And
that's like, all it is.
Yeah, it's great.
I think it's just fun with style.
Yeah. No.
I knew a lot of this, and with most of his films, they do pay homage to a lot of like classic cinema.
Yeah.
But you were mentioning that I think it was Italian cinema that has those cuts that go from being like where it's a medium shot and it's a slightly closer medium shot and they just cut in the same scene?
Not Italian cinema exclusively, but not Italian cinema exclusively.
I know I've seen it somewhere.
I mean, we talk. Yeah, I mean,
or was that just kind of like
it was adopted by American soap operas? It really was.
Really?
Yeah, it's like this emotional kind of punch. But in classic cinema, it was meant to like. It was this evolution in cinema where we could use close-ups.
Yeah.
So to convey more emotional tonality, you would cut to the reaction of the person as a close-up.
Yeah.
That's all it really was. I don't know that it was influenced by Italian cinema though.
It's because it's a super like stylistic thing because obviously like and we saw it with I want to say we saw it in the Before series, but it was this whole idea of choosing performance over anything else.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say that it was like, are you gonna hit somebody or are you getting rid of?
He hasn't
You're
decided.
talking to me.
Talking to me. But I don't know. I felt like it was
By the way, to add to your point, heavily influenced, heavily like
everything.
I probably saw it the most in the French Dispatch and in Grand Budapest, stylistically where he borrowed from his influences. But this was like, when you watch these lighthearted Italian neorealism or Italian comedy dramas, it's the spinning.
Do you guys have anything to say towards somebody who watches a film like this one or other Wes films and says it's not funny? Why do people say it's funny?
Well, what do you mean? What?
There's a few people that I've met that they'll watch Wes Anderson films and they don't get in. They just like it's not funny.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah,
It's an acquired taste. Yeah, it's just people that don't
It's
have
an
humor.
acquired taste.
Yeah.
Because when they
say that after watching more Wes Anderson films, we understand you more.
Yeah.
And
No,
we love you, buddy.
But it's seriously talking. There's people out there that just don't have humor. They don't have.
Not just that, but they're so accustomed.
Jerks out there.
They're just so accustomed to what people convey comedy in the last 20 years, and
okay, that's the way to put it. Yeah,
slapstick on the nose. They're not used to like digging deeper. They're not used to like thinking about a joke.
I'll say this: these jokes were a lot more obvious here compared to like if you watch the French Dispatch. The French Dispatch, it's
so hilarious.
It's so bad to say this, but it's
the comedy.
It's a highball humor, you know. Yeah. So it's kind of like somebody will say something, and then you have to think about the context. You're like, oh my god,
that is highball. This is a little more on the screwball note.
Yeah.
Something like
but
this.
I think that's Bill Murray was able to bring out those notes in there, you know.
Well, you and Austin had this little debate right now, just to get it out before we end.
Yeah.
The Yellow Submarine. Real quick, I know you want to get out your chest. You like the Beatles.
I just want to say this. What you showed me is IMDb. What you need to know about IMDb is anybody can go in, just like Wikipedia, and submit a contribution. So somebody could have just put that
Yellow Submarine made in 2004 not an homage to the Beatles' Yellow Submarine? There's no
prove it.
Submarines had to be yellow back then.
No, they
don't. They're not taxis.
That was a long shot.
What in popular culture? Yeah, because of the Beatles.
Prove it.
No, so they can see it in the ocean.
I'll say this. For like nautical sea adventure and all that kind of stuff. The goal is to blend in underwater. I mean, think of like the gray tones that come in like the military submarines.
Yeah.
It's because you don't want to be seen when you're underwater. So
by the way, this isn't me defending the Beatles record or like.
Oh, it is.
No, it's me defending their 1960s film, Yellow Submarine.
Oh, okay.
It was influential in pop culture because it was trippy and people were on fucking acid and they were looking at this film. So like that film, A Hard Day's Night, like these films are Criterion films, believe it or not. They heavily influenced cinema. So if somebody like Wes, who's heavily influenced by foreign cinema, British cinema, Italian cinema, French cinema, how could he not be influenced by something like this?
By the way, I just want to add.
I want to see it.
One little last note.
One little nugget
about Sue George, who was
rearranged all the music.
rearranged all the music and did the Portuguese covers of
David Bowie. There was only 2 songs on this whole soundtrack that was not David Bowie. There's only 2 songs.
But basically all of Ziggy Stardust reimagined in Portuguese. David Bowie, before he passed away, saw this film and heard this album and said that there was a whole new level of beauty that he found in his own music after hearing this version.
And Ziggy Stardust is a huge record, man.
I found something.
Yeah.
Ooh, facts.
So you remember how you mentioned earlier that this film is loosely based on
I remember that.
deep diver?
Yeah.
Whose name is Jacques Cousteau.
Uh-huh.
The Yellow Submarine in the film is an almost direct replica of Cousteau's.
Okay.
Doesn't resemble the Beatles.
Structure, not color. Structure.
Submarine.
I got 5 on him.
We have 10 minutes left on this thing before it dies. So, yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on this, but I will prove it to you.
Did anybody's ratings change?
No,
Mine went up to a 9.
No, this Kevin just like
At least
I
play with it.
didn't say anything.
Can we just rename it to like the Wes Anderson episode?
Right? No, because there's so much to talk about.
Yeah,
once.
I kind of want to explore.
No, I think it probably moved up to like an 8.7.
Yeah, mine's a 9.
Yeah, 8.6.
7.5.
Wait, did you have... Oh, no, he had it at a 9 before.
I was at an 8.5.
I was at a
I think it
9.2.
varies in that kind of pool.
I think it's a high 8. High 8.
High 8, yeah, high 8. I mean, I'm very happy with the film. I think you're right. It shows the trajectory of Wes. I think it's a bucket list film.
I was hearing people say, or you, that it's not a good starter. I guess.
I
you had
disagree.
read.
I think it's a good starter for Wes.
I don't know
think
about that.
I just think because I have you guys. It was just kind of like
the
wow,
jokes. I think the story's really
To be
interesting.
fair, man, you can't introduce Wes. You can't lightly introduce Wes.
Yeah,
If you
nothing
had to
against them,
introduce
it's-
somebody to Wes and they gave you French Dispatch in this,
No,
would you
you
give up?
That's
would
what I'm
not
saying.
give him
No,
French
not
Dispatch.
French
No, but
Dispatch.
that's what I mean.
I was gonna
I
say
feel like
the
Life
most
Aquatic is
accessible one, as far as I've heard.
Fantastic.
Wouldn't it be
No.
the Royal?
Grand Budapest.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
even say Grand Budapest, man. Grand Budapest stylistically is very heavy and like in
That's the
themes
first
and
one I think of. when they say
storylines.
West
Yes, I would probably throw that at somebody, but I've heard that the one that kind of start people off with is Moonrise Kingdom. It's the most linear kind of.
Moonrise, and I still think Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah.
Because Fantastic Mr. Fox, it's still a kids film.
You've never even mentioned Moonrise Kingdom. Is it not that? Is it?
I've heard like mixed things about it.
I saw that I saw the trailer. I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
You know what
two
I do
kids,
like?
pure love.
Yeah.
Anybody you ask, everybody has a different like favorite like Wes Anderson pick, and it's because each one tackles a truly different type of story, a different type of style. There's some people that love his animated works, and other people that feel like his live action works are where he really blossoms. Some people like the newer Renaissance.
Yeah.
Some people like the more classic indie style. I think everybody's just got to kind of find their pick.
I have a question for you before we wrap, because that we kind of all gave our ratings.
Yeah.
Right. We
Yep.
did. Nobody's changed or kind of slightly
Mine went
changed.
up from a 7.3 to a 7.5.
Okay.
No, if you blow me a kiss, I'll go up to a 9.5.
Damn, man. The start to that
Nah, it
really
doesn't count.
scared me.
I was gonna say, do you feel like somebody like, again, as I've stated, nobody can Wes like Wes. Nobody can replace or not nobody.
Yeah.
Do you feel like somebody like Taika Waititi is branching into his own style naturally, but is a reflection of Wes?
That's a good finish.
Because I feel like Wes could have directed Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember when they were talking about like Jojo Rabbit,
Uh-huh.
everybody was saying, "Oh, it's like it feels like you said, could have been directed by Wes." It's
And I've never heard any arguments. I just
Yeah.
thought about like Taika's in that vein of like quirky, unique
Yeah,
storytelling,
no, yeah,
but very
Taika-
deep themes, very heavy storytelling too.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I'd say that.
I'm sure he's been influenced by Wes. By the way, I mean Taika came later in the
Taika
game.
definitely has the chops to tackle these kind of similar to Wes, where they're very heavy storylines that really hit hard when you put them on paper.
Yeah,
But because of the way that they direct and because of the execution,
sure.
they have this lightheartedness that brings out, I guess, kind of the joy and the spirit in the characters, and that also the humor is able to make everything settle well at the end, you know?
for sure. It's accessible. It's
Yeah.
accessible to these deep themes. So.
Because if you talk about most of the themes on these like films, usually it talks about like death and loss and finding self and finding yourself in a place where nobody wants you anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean these films, I mean, on paper sound really kind of like heavy and depressing. I mean, look at like Grand Budapest, where Zero comes from a war-torn country and he escaped from the war. Yeah. He lost his family and is looking for work, and all he can do is hope to raise in the ranks of a lobby boy. Yeah. And then even though that sounds super heavy, And then it's this little quirky, like, you know, they all wear the little purple uniforms. There you go, running around and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. But I would agree that, cool. Taika, haven't thought of that, but yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, you heard it here on the WatchTower podcast. We talked about Wes Anderson 2004, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. It's a terrific picture. Check it out. Highly recommend it. There's no.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
There's no light way to dive into the pool that is Wes Anderson. You just dive into the pool.
Also, I'll put a little bow to say that if you watch the film and you haven't watched any other Wes Anderson, you'll kind of understand why we go on this really roundabout way to talk about it, because it's just it's more than just watching a regular movie that has a linear story. You're watching a director who's really developed his own style and own way of telling story. So that's why we really had to go from this umbrella into this is why we appreciate the style.
They're really interesting, like mosaics of cinema, vignettes, if you will, but in the most unique way one of the most unique ways to use vignettes, which is kind of telling, right? Considering his newest film is an anthology. So it's fantastic storytelling, and Wes absolutely has deemed himself as a master storyteller for sure.
On the tour.
An auteur, absolutely an auteur. Yeah,
for sure.
Wes is the definition of an auteur, for sure.
More Wes to come.
Wes to come.
I think for sure, once you do your Saya G. Ray pick, I'll do Darjeeling Limited, and I don't mind doing another one, but
Who's next in the lineup?
Castro!
And it's not for the...
Not for the cafe.
So
not for the cafe.
For this one?
Yeah. Do you have your pick yet?
All right, Cable Guy, we're doing it.
No, Dean wants to save that for the cafe.
Yeah, I want to save it for the cafe.
Prove it.
Not yet.
All right. Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Damn you.
Stay tuned for the announcement for the next pick. But just keep watching films. Thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you guys for tuning in our new studio. Check it out. We're going to be hosting the podcast.
And if you get the question right, how many times we recorded at the other one, you get a free prize.
Oh, yeah. You comment
Wait, do you have the number on you?
But we can figure it out.
If you get it right, we'll figure out the number. But if you get it right, we will absolutely review whichever film you suggest.
Oh, yeah.
Like any film. We won't even consult each other on it. We will review it.
If only they knew that we do that regardless.
Yeah, I know. Don't tell them.
But we can still give them a prize.
But we'll give you like a little...
Additionally?
What did they?
We have what we gave away at the cafe.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Okay. Little creative will pass.
First person to what? Comment on YouTube or Facebook?
Yeah, first person to comment the right thing can get a prize.
Yeah, but that was right. By the way, if you have a film that you want us to review, you want us to talk about, we haven't talked about enough. I've had a couple requests of people telling me like, hey, when you do this film, let me be on the podcast. When you do this film, let me be on the podcast. So we'll probably get into a little more of that. And just make sure that stay tuned for the live episodes that we do at Aaron and George's Film Cafe, because if you participate, sure, you get a prize, but it's this different vibe, man. It's this kind of awesome camaraderie. People who love cinema just get together and talk cinema. It's just really cool.
Keep following us on YouTube. All of our episodes are up there. Spotify, all podcasting platforms. And then thanks to Jesse and Austin, the amazing TikTok reels and Instagram
YouTube
reels that we've been doing.
Reels, so
all those are amazing. So keep following us everywhere. We're still going strong.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the next episode.
We'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for tuning in to the WatchTower podcast.
Take care, everybody.
Whopper, Junior Whopper.